The scent of lilies couldn't mask the stench of betrayal. I stood frozen in our bedroom, my trembling hands clutching Tom's phone. The message glared back at me, mocking my years of trust and devotion. "Can't wait to see you tonight, lover. Same place, same time." My world crumbled as I sank onto the edge of our bed, the same bed where Tom and I had shared countless intimate moments. Now it felt tainted, a symbol of his deceit. The front door creaked open downstairs. "Sarah, I'm home early." Tom's cheerful voice sent a chill down my spine. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for the confrontation I never thought I'd face. "Up here," I called out, my voice surprisingly steady. His footsteps bounded up the stairs, and he appeared in the doorway, a broad smile on his face. "Hey, beautiful. I thought we could?" He froze, his eyes darting from my face to his phone in my hand. "Who is she, Tom?" I asked, my words barely above a whisper. The color drained from his face. "Sarah, I can explain." "Explain what?" I snapped, my composure cracking. "How you've been lying to me?" Sneaking around behind my back, Tom stepped forward, his hands raised in surrender. "It's not what you think. She's just what?" I interrupted, standing up. "A friend? A colleague? Don't insult me with more lies." He ran a hand through his hair, his eyes pleading. "I'm sorry, Sarah, it was a mistake. It didn't mean anything." "Didn't mean anything," I echoed, my voice rising. "How long has this been going on?" Tom's silence was deafening. "How long?" I demanded. He sighed, shoulders slumping. "A few months." The admission hit me like a physical blow. Months. While I'd been pouring my heart into our marriage and my business, he'd been sneaking around with another woman. "I want you out," I said, surprised by the firmness in my voice. "What? Sarah, please, we can work this out," Tom begged, reaching for me. I stepped back, holding up a hand. "Don't touch me. I can't even look at you right now. Just go." "Where am I supposed to go?" "I don't care," I spat. "Your mother's, a hotel, wherever your mistress lives. Just get out of my sight." Tom's face crumpled. "Sarah, please, I love you. It was a stupid mistake. I'll end it, I swear." I laughed bitterly. "Love? You don't even know the meaning of the word." Just then, my phone buzzed. I glanced at the screen to see a message from Ruth, my best friend. "Hey girl, still on for dinner tonight?" The reminder of my plans with Ruth was like a lifeline. I needed to get out of this house, away from Tom's lies and excuses. "I'm leaving," I announced, grabbing my purse. "When I get back, I want you gone." "Sarah, wait," Tom called after me as I stormed down the stairs. "We need to talk about this." I whirled around at the bottom of the stairs, fixing him with a glare. "There's nothing to talk about. You made your choice, Tom. Now you have to live with it." With that, I yanked open the front door and stepped out into the cool evening air. As I climbed into my car, I could see Tom watching from the window, his face a mask of regret and desperation. My phone buzzed again. Another message from Ruth. "Everything okay? You're usually not this quiet." I took a shaky breath, realizing I'd have to tell her everything, but not over text. I needed a shoulder to cry on, a voice of reason in the chaos my life had suddenly become. As I pulled out of the driveway, leaving behind the shattered remains of my marriage, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. Little did I know how right I was, or how much my world was about to change. I slammed the car door shut, my hands still shaking as I gripped the steering wheel. Ruth's worried face greeted me as I stumbled into the restaurant, my eyes puffy and red. "Sarah, what on earth happened?" she asked, pulling me into a tight hug. I collapsed into the booth, the words tumbling out between sobs. "Tom, he's been cheating on me." Ruth's eyes widened in shock. "That bastard! How did you find out?" I recounted the discovery of the text message, the confrontation, and my hasty exit from the house. Ruth listened intently, her face a mix of sympathy and anger. "You did the right thing, honey," she said, squeezing my hand. "You deserve so much better than that lying snake." As we talked, my phone buzzed incessantly. Tom's name flashed on the screen, along with a barrage of text messages. "Sarah, please come home. We need to talk." "I'm sorry. I'll do anything to make this right." "I love you. Don't throw away our marriage." I silenced the phone, shoving it into my purse. "I can't deal with him right now." Ruth nodded. "You need time to process this. Stay at my place tonight." Grateful for her support, I agreed. As we finished our meal, I felt a small surge of strength. I had my best friend, and I had my business. I could get through this. The next morning, I woke to more missed calls and messages from Tom. Steeling myself, I decided it was time to face the music. I needed to go home and figure out what to do next. As I pulled into our driveway, I noticed Tom's car was still there. Taking a deep breath, I entered the house. Tom was sitting at the kitchen table, his head in his hands. He looked up as I walked in, his eyes red-rimmed and desperate. "Sarah, thank God you're home," he said, standing up. "I've been worried sick." I kept my distance, crossing my arms. "I'm only here to talk about what happens next." Tom's face fell. "Please, Sarah. I know I messed up, but I want to make this right. I ended things with her last night. It's over, I swear." I laughed bitterly. "And I'm supposed to just believe you? After months of lies?" "I'll do anything to prove it to you," he pleaded. "Counseling, complete transparency with my phone and email, whatever you need." As much as I wanted to slam the door in his face, a small part of me hesitated. We'd been together for 10 years. Could I really throw it all away? "I need time," I said finally. "I can't just forgive and forget." Tom nodded eagerly. "Of course, take all the time you need. I'll sleep in the guest room. Just please don't give up on us yet." I sighed, feeling the weight of the decision on my shoulders. "I'm not making any promises, Tom, but I won't file for divorce. Not yet." Relief washed over his face. "Thank you, Sarah. I promise I'll earn back your trust." As if on cue, my phone rang. It was a client calling about a last-minute wedding order. Despite the chaos in my personal life, my business was thriving. "I have to take this," I said, stepping away from Tom. "It's for the business." Tom's face clouded. "Right, the business. Always the business." I ignored his comment, focusing on the call. As I discussed the details with the client, I couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. My floral designs were in high demand, and I'd built this success from the ground up. Hanging up, I turned back to Tom. "I need to go to the studio. I have a big order to fill." He frowned. "Can it wait? We need to talk more about us." "No, it can't wait," I snapped. "Unlike some people, I have responsibilities I can't just ignore." Tom flinched at my words. "Sarah, Save it," I cut him off. "I'll be back later. We can talk then, if I feel like it." As I walked out, leaving Tom standing helplessly in the kitchen, I felt a mix of emotions swirling inside me. Anger, hurt, confusion, but also a glimmer of something else. Determination. Whatever happened with Tom, I knew one thing for certain. I wouldn't let his betrayal destroy everything I'd worked so hard to build. I never thought I'd be packing up our life to move in with my mother-in-law, but here I was, surrounded by cardboard boxes and shattered dreams. Tom's voice echoed from downstairs as he spoke on the phone. "Yes, Mom, we'll be there tomorrow. Sarah's looking forward to it too." I snorted. If he only knew how much I was dreading this move. As I taped up another box, my phone buzzed with a message from Ruth. "How are you holding up, hon? Still can't believe you're going through with this." I sighed, typing back, "Me neither. But Jane needs help, and Tom insists we're the only ones who can provide it." The truth was I felt trapped. Tom's affair was still a raw wound, and now I was being uprooted from my home and thrust into close quarters with his judgmental mother. It felt like a recipe for disaster. The next day, as we pulled up to Jane's sprawling Victorian house, my stomach churned with anxiety. Tom squeezed my hand, mistaking my tension for concern about his mother's health. "It'll be okay, Sarah. Mom's gonna love having us here." I forced a smile, not believing a word of it. Jane greeted us at the door, her frail frame belying the sharp glint in her eyes. "Well, it's about time you two showed up. I was beginning to think you'd forgotten about your poor old mother, Tom." "Never, Mom," Tom said, embracing her. "Sarah and I are here to help, whatever you need." Jane's gaze swept over me, her lips pursed. "I suppose you'll have to do, dear, though I can't imagine how you'll manage to keep up your little flower hobby while you're here." I bristled at her dismissive tone. "It's not a hobby, Jane. It's my business, and I intend to keep it running." Of course, she waved a hand. "Well, come in then. No use standing around like strangers." As we settled into the guest room, I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd made a terrible mistake. Jane's presence seemed to loom over everything, her disapproval palpable. Days turned into weeks, and the tension in the house grew thicker. I tried to balance my work with caring for Jane, but nothing I did seemed good enough. One afternoon, as I arranged flowers for a client in the sunroom, Jane's voice cut through my concentration. "Really, Sarah, must you clutter up the whole house with your weeds? I can hardly move without tripping over a vase or a bucket." I took a deep breath, trying to keep my temper in check. "I'm sorry if it's inconvenient, Jane, but this is my livelihood. I have orders to fill." She sniffed. "In my day, a wife's place was in the home, not gallivanting about with flowers. I don't know how Tom puts up with it." Before I could respond, Tom walked in. "Everything okay in here?" "Oh, Tom," Jane simpered. "Tough. I was just telling Sarah how lovely it would be if she could focus more on the house. It's getting a bit neglected with all her business." I waited for Tom to defend me, to remind his mother that my business was important. Instead, he just shrugged. Maybe you could cut back a bit, Sarah? Just until Mom's feeling better? I stared at him, incredulous. Cut back? Tom, this is our main source of income right now. Or have you forgotten about your little career hiccup? Jane's eyes widened. Career hiccup? Thomas, what is she talking about? Tom shot me a panicked look. It's nothing, Mom. Just a small setback at work. Sarah's exaggerating. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Not only was he failing to support me, but he was also lying to his mother about our financial situation. I'm not exaggerating, I snapped. Tom lost his job 3 months ago. My little flower hobby is what's keeping us afloat. The room fell silent. Jane looked between us, her face a mix of shock and disappointment. Tom's expression hardened, his eyes flashing with anger. Sarah, can I talk to you in private? He growled. As I followed him out of the room, leaving a stunned Jane behind, I realized that the fragile peace we'd been maintaining was about to shatter. And I wasn't sure our marriage could survive the fallout. The tension in Jane's house was suffocating. After the blow-up about Tom's job loss, things had gone from bad to worse. I threw myself into my work, desperate for any escape from the constant criticism and passive-aggressive comments. One morning, as I prepared a large order for a local charity event, Jane hobbled into the kitchen, her face pinched with disapproval. Still playing with your flowers, I see, she sniffed. Don't you think it's time you focused on more important things? Like taking care of your husband and his poor, ailing mother? I gritted my teeth, forcing a smile. This is important, Jane. It's our livelihood. She waved her hand dismissively. Nonsense. A real wife would be supporting her husband in finding a new job, not gallivanting about with roses and daisies. Before I could retort, Tom walked in, his face haggard from another night of fruitless job searching. Mom, please, he sighed. Sarah's business is keeping us afloat right now. Jane's eyes narrowed. Well, if you'd put half as much effort into finding work as she does into her little hobby, maybe you wouldn't be in this situation. I watched Tom's shoulders slump, feeling a mix of sympathy and frustration. He'd been trying, but his confidence had taken a serious hit. Still, a part of me resented having to shoulder all the responsibility. I have to go, I announced, gathering my supplies. Big delivery today. As I headed for the door, Jane called out, Oh, Sarah? Don't forget we have bridge club this afternoon. I told the ladies you'd provide the flower arrangements. I froze, turning slowly. Bridge club? Jane, I can't. I have 3 weddings to prep for this weekend. Surely you can spare an hour for family, she said, her tone sickly sweet. After all, we've opened our home to you. I looked to Tom for support, but he just shrugged helplessly. Maybe you could squeeze it in, honey? It would mean a lot to Mom. Anger bubbled up inside me. Fine, I snapped. I'll be there. The day was a whirlwind of deliveries and last-minute adjustments. By the time I rushed back to Jane's house, I was exhausted and running late. I burst into the living room, arms full of hastily arranged flowers, to find Jane and her friends already deep into their game. Oh, there you are, Jane said, her tone dripping with disapproval. We were beginning to think you'd forgotten us entirely. I plastered on a smile, distributing the arrangements around the room. Of course not, Jane. I wouldn't miss it. As I turned to leave, one of Jane's friends, a sharp-eyed woman named Mildred, spoke up. Sarah, dear, why don't you join us? Surely your little flower shop can spare you for an afternoon. I opened my mouth to decline, but Jane jumped in. What a lovely idea. Sarah, sit down. It's time you learned some proper social graces. Trapped, I sank into an empty chair, my mind racing with all the work I was falling behind on. As the afternoon dragged on, I checked my phone constantly, wincing at the mounting messages from clients and suppliers. Jane noticed, her lips pursing in disapproval. Really, Sarah, she chided. It's rude to be on your phone during a social gathering. I thought I taught Thomas better than to marry someone with such poor manners. Something inside me snapped. I stood abruptly, my chair scraping loudly against the floor. I'm sorry, Jane, but I have a business to run, a business that's supporting this entire household right now. I can't sit here playing cards while my livelihood falls apart. The room fell silent, all eyes on me. Jane's face turned red with anger and embarrassment. Well, I never! Thomas will hear about this disgraceful behavior. As I stormed out of the room, I caught a glimpse of Tom in the hallway, his face a mix of shock and disappointment. But I couldn't bring myself to care. I was done trying to please everyone at the expense of my own dreams and sanity. Locking myself in the guest room, I pulled out my laptop and started searching for apartments. It was time to make a decision. I couldn't keep living like this, torn between my responsibilities and my own self-respect. Something had to give, and I was determined it wouldn't be me. I stared at my laptop screen in disbelief, my heart pounding in my chest. The numbers didn't lie, but I couldn't wrap my head around what I was seeing. There was a significant withdrawal from my business account, money I hadn't touched. "Tom," I called out, my voice shaking. "Can you come here for a minute?" He appeared in the doorway, looking wary. "What's up?" I turned the screen towards him. "Can you explain this? There's $5,000 missing from the business account." Tom's face paled, and I knew instantly. My stomach dropped as he stammered. "Sarah, I can explain. You'd better start talking," I said, my voice ice cold. He ran a hand through his hair, avoiding my gaze. "I needed the money for a job opportunity. It's a sure thing, Sarah. I was going to pay it back as soon as I got my first paycheck." I felt like I'd been slapped. "You stole from my business? Without even asking me?" "I didn't steal," Tom protested. "I borrowed. It's our money, isn't it?" "No, Tom, it's not," I snapped. "It's my business account. Money I've worked hard for, while you've been sitting around feeling sorry for yourself." His face hardened. "That's not fair. I've been trying to find work." "By stealing from me?" I stood up, anger coursing through me. "What happened to the man I married? The one who supported me, who I could trust?" Before Tom could respond, Jane's voice called from downstairs. "Thomas, is everything all right up there?" Tom's eyes darted to the door. "We should continue this later," he muttered. "No," I said firmly. "We're finishing this now. Your mother doesn't get to interrupt every important conversation we have." As if on cue, Jane appeared in the doorway. "What's all the commotion about?" I turned to her, beyond caring about keeping up appearances. "Your son stole money from my business account." Jane's eyes widened, then narrowed. "Now, Sarah, I'm sure there's been some misunderstanding. Thomas would never." "He did," I cut her off, "and I want to know why." Tom looked between us, trapped. Finally, he sighed. "It's for a business venture. A friend of mine has a startup, and he offered me a position if I could invest." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "So you decided to gamble with my money? Without even discussing it with me?" "It's not a gamble," Tom insisted. "John knows what he's doing. This could be my chance to get back on my feet." "John?" Jane's voice was sharp. "You don't mean John Carlson, do you?" Tom nodded, and I saw a flash of fear cross Jane's face. "Who's John Carlson?" I demanded. Jane's lips tightened. "A very bad influence from Thomas's youth. I thought we'd seen the last of him years ago." Tom's face flushed with anger. "John's changed, Mom. He's successful now." "Successful at what?" I asked, a sinking feeling in my stomach. The silence that followed was deafening. Tom couldn't meet my eyes, and Jane looked like she'd aged 10 years in a moment. "I can't believe this," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "You've been lying to me, stealing from me, and now you're mixed up with someone your own mother doesn't trust?" "Sarah, please," Tom pleaded. "Just give me a chance to make this right." I looked at him, really looked at him, and realized I barely recognized the man standing before me. This wasn't the Tom I'd fallen in love with, the one I'd built a life with. This was a stranger, one I couldn't trust. "I need some air," I said, grabbing my keys and phone. "Don't follow me." As I rushed down the stairs, I heard Jane's voice behind me. "Thomas, what have you done?" I slammed the front door behind me, my mind reeling. As I sat in my car, hands gripping the steering wheel, I knew I had a decision to make. Could I forgive this betrayal? Could I ever trust Tom again? My phone buzzed with a text from Ruth. "Hey girl, everything okay? You've been MIA lately." In that moment, I made my choice. I started the car and typed back, "No, nothing's okay. Can I come over? I need a friend right now." As I pulled out of the driveway, leaving behind the house that had become my prison, I felt a strange mix of terror and exhilaration. I didn't know what the future held, but I knew one thing for certain. I couldn't keep living like this. It was time for a change, no matter how scary it might be. I sat in Ruth's living room, my hands wrapped around a mug of tea that had long since gone cold. The past few days had been a blur of tears, anger, and sleepless nights on her couch. "Sarah, honey," Ruth said gently, "you can't avoid going back forever. You need to face Tom and figure out what you're going to do." I nodded, knowing she was right. I don't know if I can trust him anymore. The affair, the lying, stealing from my business, it's like I don't even know who he is anymore. Ruth squeezed my hand. "Then it's time to find out. Go home, confront him, and make a decision. You're stronger than you think." With Ruth's words echoing in my mind, I drove back to Jane's house. The knot in my stomach tightened as I pulled into the driveway. Taking a deep breath, I stepped out of the car and walked to the front door. As I reached for my key, I heard voices from inside. Tom and Jane were arguing, their words muffled but their tones clear. I hesitated, then quietly let myself in, following the sound to Jane's study. "Can't keep lying to her, Thomas," Jane was saying. "Sarah deserves better than this." "I know, Mom," Tom's voice was strained. "But if she finds out about everything, she'll leave for good. I can't lose her." I froze, my heart pounding. What more could there possibly be? Jane sighed heavily. "You should have thought of that before you got mixed up with John again. And the things you've been saying about Sarah behind her back, it's shameful, Thomas." I couldn't breathe. Tom had been talking about me? To his mother? "I was just venting," Tom protested weakly. "You know how stressed I've been with losing my job and Sarah's business taking off. Sometimes I feel like she doesn't even need me anymore." "So you tear her down to make yourself feel better?" Jane's voice was sharp. "I raised you better than that, Thomas." I'd heard enough. I pushed the door open, startling both of them. "Sarah?" Tom jumped to his feet, his face pale. How long have you been there?" "Long enough," I said, my voice surprisingly steady. "I think it's time we had an honest conversation, don't you?" Jane stood, smoothing her skirt. "I'll give you two some privacy." "No," I said firmly. "You should stay, Jane. I want to hear exactly what Tom's been saying about me." Tom's eyes darted between us, panic clear on his face. "Sarah, please, it's not what you think." "Then what is it, Tom?" I demanded. "Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you've been lying to me, stealing from me, and now I find out you've been bad-mouthing me to your mother. What happened to the man I married?" "I'm still that man," Tom insisted. "I've just been lost. Losing my job, watching you succeed while I failed, it's been hard. So that gives you the right to betray me?" I felt tears stinging my eyes but refused to let them fall. "To make me feel small so you can feel big?" Jane stepped forward, her face a mix of sympathy and disappointment. "Sarah, dear, Thomas has been struggling. He didn't mean—" "Don't defend him, Jane," I snapped. "For once in your life, see your son for who he really is." Tom's face hardened. "That's not fair, Sarah. You don't understand what I've been going through." "You're right, I don't," I said, "because you never talked to me. You just lied and cheated and stole." The room fell silent, the weight of everything unsaid hanging heavy between us. "I want a divorce," I said quietly, the words feeling both terrifying and liberating. Tom's face crumpled. "Sarah, no, please, we can work this out. I'll do anything." "It's too late," I cut him off. "I don't recognize you anymore, Tom, and I don't like the person I'm becoming by staying in this marriage." As I turned to leave, Tom grabbed my arm. "You can't just walk away from everything we've built." I yanked my arm free, anger flaring. "Watch me." With that, I stormed out of the room, out of the house, and into the uncertainty of my future. As I drove away, tears finally falling, I realized that this wasn't just the end of my marriage. It was the beginning of my new life, whatever that might look like. The world blurred around me as I drove away from Jane's house, my hands shaking on the steering wheel. I couldn't go back to Ruth's. I needed space to think, to breathe. Without realizing it, I found myself pulling into the parking lot of my old studio, the place where I'd started my business before moving in with Tom's mother. I sat in the car, staring at the familiar storefront, memories flooding back. This was where I'd found my passion, my strength. How had I let it all slip away? My phone buzzed incessantly. Calls from Tom, texts from Jane. I silenced it, unable to deal with their pleas and excuses. Instead, I called my lawyer. "Sarah," she answered, "I was just about to call you. There's been a development in your case." My heart raced. "What is it?" "Tom's trying to claim half of your business assets in the divorce. He's arguing that since you were married when you started the company, he's entitled to a share." The world tilted on its axis. "He can't do that," I whispered. "That business is everything to me. We'll fight it," she assured me. "But I need you to gather all your financial records, especially from when you started the company." As I hung up, a new determination filled me. I wouldn't let Tom take this from me, too. I unlocked the studio door, breathing in the faint scent of flowers that still lingered. This was my sanctuary, my creation, and I'd be damned if I'd let anyone destroy it. I spent hours combing through old files, piecing together the history of my business. As dawn broke, I realized I hadn't slept, but adrenaline kept me going. I was fighting for my life, the life I'd built with my own two hands. My phone rang again. This time it was Ruth. "Sarah, where are you? I've been worried sick," I sighed, guilt washing over me. "I'm sorry, Ruth. I'm at my old studio. I needed to think." "Well, you better come back soon. Tom's here and he's making a scene." My blood ran cold. "What? Why is he there?" "He's demanding to see you. Says he won't leave until you talk to him." I closed my eyes, exhaustion and frustration overwhelming me. "I'll be right there." The drive back to Ruth's felt like marching into battle. As I pulled up, I saw Tom pacing on the front lawn, looking disheveled and desperate. "Sarah," he called out as I got out of the car, "please just talk to me." I steeled myself, facing him. "There's nothing left to say, Tom. It's over." "You can't do this," he pleaded. "We can work it out. I'll go to counseling. I'll get a job, anything you want." "Anything I want?" I laughed bitterly. I wanted a husband who respected me, who supported me instead of tearing me down, who didn't lie and cheat and steal. Tom's face hardened. "Fine. If that's how you want to play it, I'll see you in court. You think you can just walk away with everything? You've got another thing coming." As he stormed off, Ruth appeared at my side. "Are you okay?" I nodded, a strange calm settling over me. "I am. For the first time in a long time, I know exactly what I need to do." Back inside, I called my lawyer again. "I want to countersue," I said firmly. "Tom stole money from my business account. I want to press charges for embezzlement." There was a pause on the other end. "Sarah, are you sure? This could get ugly." "I'm sure," I replied, my voice steady. "I'm done being the victim. It's time to fight back." As I hung up, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. The road ahead would be hard, but I was ready. I'd lost my marriage, my home, and nearly lost myself. But I wouldn't lose my business, the one thing that was truly mine. Ruth squeezed my hand. "What now?" I took a deep breath, feeling stronger than I had in months. "Now we prepare for war. Tom wants a fight, he's got one." The courtroom felt suffocating as I sat, waiting for the judge to return with her decision. Months of legal battles, sleepless nights, and endless worry had led to this moment. Tom sat across the aisle, his face a mask of determination and barely concealed anger. As the judge entered, we all rose. My heart pounded so loudly I could barely hear her words at first. "In the matter of Mitchell versus Mitchell, I've reached a decision," she began. I held my breath, feeling Ruth's reassuring hand on my arm. "The court finds in favor of Mrs. Sarah Mitchell. Mr. Thomas Mitchell's claim to half of the business assets is denied. Furthermore, the court recognizes the unauthorized withdrawal of funds as embezzlement." Relief washed over me like a tidal wave. I'd won. My business, my dream, was safe. The judge continued, "Mr. Mitchell will be required to repay the embezzled funds in full and face probation for his actions." I glanced at Tom, expecting to see defeat. Instead, his eyes blazed with a fury I'd never seen before. As the court adjourned, he stormed towards me. "You've ruined everything," he hissed. "I hope you're happy, Sarah. You've destroyed our family for your precious flowers." Before I could respond, a familiar voice cut through the tension. "That's enough, Thomas." We both turned to see Jane standing there, her face a mix of sadness and resolve. "Mom?" Tom's anger faltered. "What are you doing here?" Jane straightened her shoulders. "I'm here to set things right." She turned to me. "Sarah, I owe you an apology. I've been blind to my son's faults for far too long. What he did to you, it's unforgivable." I stood there, stunned. This was the last thing I'd expected. "Thomas," Jane continued, her voice firm, "you need help. Real help. Not more excuses or schemes. It's time to face the consequences of your actions." Tom's face crumpled. "But Mom, No, Thomas. Enough." Jane's tone left no room for argument. She turned back to me. "Sarah, I know it doesn't make up for everything, but I want you to know I'm proud of you. You've shown incredible strength and resilience." Tears pricked my eyes. After all this time, to hear those words from Jane, it meant more than I could express. As we left the courthouse, I felt lighter than I had in years. Ruth hugged me tightly. "You did it, girl. You stood up for yourself and won." I nodded, still processing everything. "I can't believe it's really over." "Not over," Ruth corrected with a smile. "Just beginning. Now let's go celebrate your freedom and your thriving business." Weeks passed, and life settled into a new rhythm. My floral design business flourished, and I found joy in my work again. One sunny afternoon, as I arranged a stunning bouquet for a high-profile client, my phone rang. It was Jane. "Sarah," she said, her voice warm. "I hope I'm not interrupting." "Not at all," I replied, surprised but pleased to hear from her. "How are you?" "I'm well, thank you. I wanted to let you know that Thomas has entered a rehabilitation program. He's finally getting the help he needs." I felt a complex mix of emotions, relief, sadness, a touch of lingering anger. That's good to hear, Jane. I hope it helps him. Me too, she sighed. And Sarah, I wanted to ask, would you be willing to meet for coffee sometime? I'd love to see your new shop and, well, to start fresh. I paused, considering. The old Sarah might have hesitated, might have clung to past hurts, but I wasn't that woman anymore. I'd like that, Jane, I said, smiling. How about next week? As we said our goodbyes, I looked around my shop. My dream realized, my independence affirmed. The journey had been painful, but it led me here, to a life fully my own. I picked up a single rose from my workbench, admiring its resilience and beauty. Like this flower, I had weathered storms and emerged stronger. As I placed it in a vase, I felt a profound sense of peace. The future was uncertain, but for the first time in years, I was excited to see what it would bring. I had faced betrayal, fought for my dreams, and reclaimed my life. Whatever challenges lay ahead, I knew I had the strength to face them, one petal, one day at a time.